be it resolved.
Hello, viewers, and welcome once again to Be It Resolved, your weekly fun, lighthearted debate forum. So, we've got a great topic for you here today, and it's highly controversial. So, listen to this one. Be it resolved that the earth is actually flat. Yeah. Okay, so arguing for this proposition is myself. I'm Andrew Wood, and my good friend Al Brown. Arguing against is Sarabjit Sandhu and Mario Karakides. Okay, so the way we do this is to have a 3-minute constructive argument to begin. Al will start, and then will it be Mario or will it be Sarab next? Then it will be Mario, and then myself, and then Sarab. Okay, and then we'll do the reverse order when we are summing up. But in between, there'll be a 5-minute round robin. Okay, so the only thing that remains to be said is that to always keep in mind that the positions we're arguing are not necessarily coincident with our actual opinions. So with that warning, let's go. Mr. Brown, you have 3 minutes to make your arguments.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. I don't think I need 3 minutes to make my argument. It is obviously clear that the Earth is flat. And there are two perspectives of this. First is the human perspective, which I think is probably the most important. When we look around us, we see a flat world. In fact, even if you go on the internet or the media and you watch people from other sides of the world, they're not presented upside down, they're presented right side up, just like us. So from our perspective of perception, the world is actually flat. Now, what really matters here? Does it really matter whether the world is a giant sphere? I don't think so. From our perception, from our human perception, the world is flat. Now, of course, there is a mathematical problem with this, because if we assume that the world is flat, which is a reasonable one would think that in a flat world, you would go far enough, you'd come to an edge. And if you come to an edge, you'd probably fall off. But the problem with this, and this is certainly a mathematical problem that has confounded the other supporters of the flat Earth, which you've probably seen on social media, particularly Facebook. I followed numerous arguments there, and the conundrum of the mathematical argument has been great in my mind. And I think I have come up to a reasonable solution to the problem. I wish to present to you a mathematical argument that demonstrates that the world is actually flat, even though it looks like a sphere. Now, let us take a position of a flat piece of paper, for example. You can see it's two sides, right? If you start on one side, go on, stand up flat. Okay, and you go this way or that way, you come to an end. In other words, you'd fall off. And it doesn't matter which side of the paper you're on, you will fall off. And that is a dilemma. But we're talking mathematical theories here. What if we were to take this piece of paper and we were to double it? And not only that, if we were to do something like this, what we end up with is a Mobius strip. And the interesting thing about this is it only has one side. Let us say we start at this pink line on one side and we proceed in one direction. Down here. We just keep going down, down, down. Down, down, down. Guess what? You end up going all the way around. And there, see, there's where we started here, right there. That line.
Thank you, Mr.
Going,
that is
going
your
and going.
Thank you.
And eventually we get back to where we started.
Mr. Sandhu, can you mute that person? You need to mute him. Okay, good. Thank you.
So basically, what we have here is a mathematical
Thank you.
solution.
Thank you. Thank you.
The
Ignore
world
that person in the
is
peanut gallery. Thank you.
And I propose that the
Okay.
world is actually can be
Mr.
described
Brown,
as a
please take your
two-dimensional
seat.
Mobius strip.
Mr.
So
Brown.
this is actually flat.
Mr. Brown. Okay. Well, here's
The
what
world
we're
is
gonna do.
flat because it is actually a two-dimensional Mobius strip.
Okay. Well,
Wasn't
good
he
for
the
you.
one who said? Wasn't he
No.
the one who said he doesn't need 3 minutes?
Here's what we're going to do, though. Because you've gone 42 seconds over your time, I am going to subtract 42 seconds from the time of your second of your partner here. So that'll be your consequence for that. Okay, and I will apply that penalty as well. Okay, Mr. Karakides, you have 3 minutes and 3 minutes only to make your point starting now.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew, and everybody listening. Don't you just love when somebody's trying to prove a point with arts and crafts? I mean, there's no other way to look at this than telling you that there's a mathematical formula. And he pulls out a sheet of paper and he tells you this is how it looks and gives it a name as the Mobius thing. I mean, come on, folks. I mean, it's very difficult to argue with the rationale that you just heard. Obviously, it is a difficult thing to do for logical people. But that's the whole theory behind conspiracy theories. And the idea that somebody has the perception, as they say, that something is real, and they delude themselves in believing that it is real, and they come up with the tips and little vague ideas that may support their argument, and then they claim it's real. The problem is, and here is the one thing that our not learned colleagues, unfortunately, are trying to say, and that is the Flat Earth Society believe that this is the flat Earth, where the center of the Earth is the North Pole, and the outer edge is supported by a wall of ice known as Antarctica. So all the continents are here, and the wall of ice is 150 feet high, and if you climb over that, you're basically going to fall over. And who's guarding this? NASA is guarding it with soldiers so that people don't climb over and fall off the edge. Now, is that any better than the Mobius strip that he was showing? No, it's as stupid and as ridiculous as that. But let me explain something to you. There is so much evidence out there that a conspiracy theorist, unfortunately, will not conform to or believe, because they believe it's a government conspiracy. They believe that the US government and everybody else is working to delude everybody else. So Sarah and I, who are arguing for a round a spherical Earth, are deluded, or we are agents of the government. And it's very difficult to fight that kind of thought process. So let me explain something to you. As ridiculous as that is, there is evidence, first of all, with gravitational fields. There's evidence of planetary movements out there. You can just use a telescope to see how other planets are formed. They're not fake illusions of camera illusions, or as they claim, orchestrated by Photoshop by NASA to make you think that it is that the world is actually flat. I'm sorry to say that the argument of the Mobius is more of, BS, I would say, rather than Mobius. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that right now.
That's it. You don't get to leave it any more than that. Okay, well, now, unfortunately, Mr. Wood, it's your next turn. And I heard the moderator earlier say that he was going to penalize you for 42 seconds. So you have 2 minutes and 18 seconds to make your argument, starting just a moment now. Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. And I'll tell you what, esteemed opponents and viewers, we really shouldn't be addressing our opponents' constructive arguments and our own constructive arguments. But since Mario has started that trend already, I shall permit myself to do so. Now, Mario, I resent the characterization that you made of our position as some kind of conspiracy theory. I subscribe to no conspiracy theory. And hold up that thing that you were holding up a couple of minutes ago. Where is that? Now, you told us that that was the flat Earth. Did you not? I heard that. And that's obviously a CD. I don't imagine for any moment that that is the flat earth. Now, here's what I do tell you. All I have to do is look outside my window. There it is. And the earth is flat. That's incontrovertible. I mean, where's the debate? I'm not saying there aren't hills. I'm not saying there aren't mountains, but I can see perfectly well with my own eyes how flat it is. Now, you can show me pictures from space. You can show me pictures of a spherical earth, and all of that is fine. But you know what? The bottom line is the perception, as Al was saying, and that is our position. You know, if the world is flat to all of our perceptions and has been flat through hundreds of thousands of years of human development, and if that has worked perfectly well for untold generations, who are we to deny that reality? No, that's the reality I'm living day by day. That's the reality that's important to me, and that's the reality that I choose to live. So I'm not arguing that the earth is actually flat. I'm not arguing that. The earth actually is flat. Okay, well, thank you very much. We'll pass along now to Mr. Sandhu. Sarab, you've got 3 minutes to make your argument.
Mr. Moderator and fellow listeners, I'm a sailor. I've been around the earth. But before I go to the sea, I want to ask you, we have these satellites going around the earth. They are going in a geostationary orbit. They're rotating at the same speed as the earth. Now, if it was flat, how would the satellites be moving? Will it be going like that and going around? How would it be moving? Now, you wouldn't have the use of any of the satellites, the internet and whatever you have with the satellites. You won't have that if you didn't have a geostationary thing. That goes to prove that it is round. And moreover, I've been around 50 times around the world. I went around during the time when we didn't have GPS. I used a sextant, and sextant is based on spherical trigonometry. It's based on calculations that the earth is, even the star, the celestial sphere is based on certain latitudes and longitudes, right ascensions and hour angles. And it is a complex way you can find where you are. You can't do that with the what sort of formula will you apply if it's a flat earth? Yeah. So it has to be spherical. And the most important thing, easiest one, when you have an eclipse of the moon, the earth is between the moon and the sun, you see the shadow of the earth on the moon, which is not like a square. It's like a proper circle. You know, you can see that. So all these things point out that the earth is round. And the easiest part, when you're out at sea and you're looking far away, you see a lighthouse, you see the tip on right down, and you keep coming closer, you can see it higher and higher and higher. And why did that happen? It's because the earth was curved. You know, that goes to prove. In fact, long time ago, Mario's ancestors found out the curvature of the earth. The Greeks found the curvature of the earth long time ago. And this is even before, even the Vedic people knew about the earth being circular. And also they had proper calculations to calculate the planetary movements, which is again based on spherical trigonometry. Now, having said that, back to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Sarab, for those thoughts. Okay, very good. So we've staked out our positions quite clearly, and that's great. Let's move into our round robin thing now. Who's going to get
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to apologize for taking longer with my mathematical argument, but it is secondary to our basic argument that human perception is the key to all of this. If we see the earth as flat, then it must be flat. I'm only proposing a mathematical argument which demonstrates that it is possible to prove that the earth is flat mathematically. It is a complicated argument, just as a Mobius strip is a complicated argument. It's not something you would normally see, but this can be perpetuated. This sphere can be identified as a flat item in 2 dimensions. And for that reason, I think it's reasonable for us to argue that the world is actually flat on a mathematical basis. But again, perception is everything.
Okay, well, let's argue perception is everything, because I think this is where you guys are basing your argument. And on the surface, it may sound valid, right? But have you ever been in a car, stationary car, and then the car next to you starts to move and you perceive that you may be moving, and you kind of immediately jolt yourself believing that your car is moving because the motion of the other car is happening? That's perception. So if you can be falsely perceiving that you are moving, then your perception is not the tool that you're going to use to define any kind of scientific proof. You need to be able to have empirical data. Now, with all the arts and crafts that you showed us, the formula that you were saying that you have this mathematical formula, well, it's never presented to us. Well, I actually gave you more of an argument than you did. So
yes, you know what? You used a nasty word there. You used the word science and scientific. And you know what? I mean, sure, you can do that if you want, but that's like it's irrelevant. That's not the core of the argument. It's not even the core of the problem. We've got to be able to navigate in the world, do we not? We have to get around. And if we get around and again, for untold generations on the theory and in the actual perceptual environment that we actually live in, that the earth is flat, well, what's wrong with that? It's worked, and it's worked for untold generations, and I see no reason to fiddle with it.
Does the earth spin?
Now, I want to say that just for our esteemed opponents to understand the earth is round, I have arranged a trip to the International Space Station. I've spoken to Elon Musk and got 2 seats where you can go on the International Space Station, which is going around the earth, and you can see for yourself the earth is round. I mean, then you come back and argue with us, then you would not have an argument, and you will believe us that the earth is absolutely round. No,
Saurabh, we acknowledge that the earth is round. We just also acknowledge that the mathematical formulas can demonstrate, although I don't have them right handy.
You don't have them. Hey, they don't have them. Come on.
The world is flat because mathematically you can probably prove it. I don't know what the argument would be, but if we can have something like a Mobius strip, then we can have an argument that says that the world is flat even though it is round. And therefore it all comes back down to human perception.
So now I understand why America is in the turmoil that it is. Alternative facts, when you're actually looking at perception, can be anything you want. You know, you can theoretically, under perception, say that an elephant can hang from a little daisy off a cliff and still be holed up.
Well, of course. If you never read Horton Hears a Who, I mean, that's proven. We've seen that. We've seen him do it. So, absolutely. He's going to do that. Listen.
But here's the question. Go ahead, Arya.
Well, I just wanted to say that I am going to live the remainder of my life, however many years may be granted me, continuing the way I always have, assuming and in practical terms that the earth is flat. And I'm sure I shall encounter no difficulty whatsoever.
But how do you explain?
I thought you said this is not our personal views. Are you thinking that the earth is round?
No, indeed not. It is not. What are we talking about here? You can try to advance that argument.
Now your colleague is basically trying to create a round thing by putting everything together and tying it together. But how do you explain, and this is something that Saurabh said earlier, how do you explain the Coriolis effect if the earth is round, if not round?
The which effect?
The Coriolis
That sounded
effect.
like science.
That's
You know what? That's our time, though, as far as the round robin goes. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, well, that was
Maybe
nice.
Saurabh can
That was
fine.
Long time ago, people.
Stop, Saurabh. This is you're making your final argument now. So this is it. We're going to time this. We have 90 seconds. You've got 90
Okay. Long time ago, this is what Christopher Columbus and the sailors of that time thought the earth was flat. And they thought Gibraltar was the edge of the world, because in Gibraltar, the Mediterranean and the Atlantic meet, and there's always some sort of riptides happening. It looks like a lot of stuff. And the sailors were afraid to go past Gibraltar because as soon as they were afraid, if they went across, they'll be going down vertically. So it took them 70 years to cross that. And after that, when they knew that, then Christopher Columbus also tried to go to India via a different route. And he landed up in West Indies, right? Why did he do that? He thought the earth was round. That's why he went there, not flat. Because that's what he was believing, but the sailors at that time were not believing that. And in any case, I can vouch, I have been around the earth 50 times. I didn't find that wall, and I went around. I didn't go from in circle. I went around it, in terms of latitude, longitude. I know the time zones every year I'm changing. So I contend the earth is not flat. You can perceive it, it's flat when you see it, but when you go the other side or when you go to the moon, go to the International Space Station, you can see everything. Thank you, and back to you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Saurabh. And now, Andrew, it's your turn. You have 90 seconds to make your arguments, starting now. Okay. Okay, well, look, you know what? Our opponents' arguments about the spheroidness of this planet, I think we have already disposed of that in one way with our Mobius strip. Of course, you can keep on sailing, Saurabh, any number of times you want to go around the Mobius strip that we call this planet. You could go around 100 times and you're still going to come back to where you started. So that is kind of disposed of. And the other thing is, let me remind you that Christopher Columbus did not get where he was going. I mean, he thought he could reach India, but he did not. So, I mean, there's another argument in our arsenal. But look, here, we don't even need to argue all those things. The bottom line of the matter is that for the billions of people who are living their actual lives, not astronauts in some bloody space station somewhere, not scientists doing astrophysics, but I'm talking about the billions and billions of us who are actually out there. Well, for all of us, the Earth is obviously flat. And so how can 8 billion people, more or less, be wrong, and a small coterie of people who've set themselves up as being informed be right? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And so there we go. For the viewers out there, don't be fooled by the opposition. The Earth actually is flat. You know it, I know it. It's a fact. Okay, let's go to Mario then. Mario?
As you heard the argument from our opponents, they claim that they are offended by conspiracy theories, and they offer you a conspiracy theory of their own. They call it the Mobius theory. I call it the more BS theory. But beyond that, when I see this argument, the one thing that is really, really obvious is that they have absolutely no proof. And that's part of the conspiracy theory argument. You never have any proof. It's all conjecture and very loosey-goosey ideas that try to kind of put little thoughts in your head that they may be real, but in fact, they're all based on an illusion or the perception, as they claim it is. Now, I sympathize for our opponents. They're trying to argue something that is very obviously a false perception. Saurabh and I do have the easier role here to argue science, even though they try to tell you that science doesn't exist, nor shall we trust science. But the fact is, you would never be able to leave your own home or go anywhere else, outside of your country if you didn't understand how to fly, how to navigate, how to travel, and understand the world. The ancient Greeks knew this. And who's going to argue with a Greek? Folks, you have a losing proposition right there.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kyriakides, Mr. Greek here, who does us the disfavor of trying to bring rationality and logic into the whole argument. Okay, Al, you've got the last word. Time to destroy these people. You have 90 seconds to do so.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will attempt the impossible, which is to argue with a Greek. This is all about perception, and all human history is about perception. And what we do in this world is about perception. It's about standards of how we view the world and how we view others. And for all intents and purposes, we as humans view the world as essentially flat. We look at people from the other side of the world, and the distance between us, the geometry could vary, but we still look at them as if they were standing next to us, face to face. And that's really what's important here, because all human history, all the sciences that we have, everything that we do is all about human perception. We are one world, and we're not one world where half of it is upside, a quarter of it is standing on its edge. We're all standing together as one. And for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, the world is in fact flat. Mr. Moderator, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you much. You know what, guys? I thought you did a good job with this. So speaking as the moderator here, just give yourselves a hand, because there was a lot of good arguments made. Come on.
Or is it like this, or is it like this now?
I don't know. Of course, we are in COVID-19. Perhaps we should be bumping our own elbows here. In any case, thank you very much, gentlemen. And I hope our viewers enjoyed that. They're certainly welcome to leave their own opinions in our reply area there, and Al and I will appreciate your support in the matter. Okay, now next week, of course, we're going to be back with another debate, and we think we have another good topic lined up for you. So what are we going to talk about? Be it resolved that COVID-19 is being used by governments to infringe upon our social liberties. That's what we're going to be debating. So thank you very much, everyone. And with that, we'll pull the plug on this. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Everybody.
Thank you for listening. And please subscribe so you do not miss another episode. Thank you.